Yeah, no, we struggling, girl. All right. What's that?
It is recorded, but I'm gonna cut out first.
Okay.
So don't worry about it.
Don't forget to remove your Adidas and.
Why? What is it?
Babe.
It's just a bottle.
Here. Here you go. I thought you didn't want that on the table.
My bottle?
Mm-hmm.
That part doesn't matter.
Did you plug the microphone in?
Microphone checker.
Okay. There you go. That's why you got me.
That is why I had you.
His helpmate. That's what God said. Oh, turn my phone on silent.
All right. I don't think I need this anymore.
There we go. Okay. Here we go.
What's she laughing about? I'm gonna leave this part in if you say something mad. Say something I don't like. Say something I don't like. I'm gonna leave it in the video.
No, don't do that. That ain't nice.
Don't put the mic next to the phone. It messes
He
with
said
the
it doesn't. He like, it don't matter. I'm all on the table. Then he took it off, so I just started cracking up.
He said it don't matter.
I know, right?
Actually, take it all off.
but when I did it, it was my decision.
Yeah, see, girl, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that kind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, girl. Good luck.
I love y'all.
I love you too, honey.
Steph is like, what?
All right, Stephen. So I'm going to do the introduction on Cra-Z-Dreams. I'm going to pass to Anissa, and she's going to introduce you.
Sounds good to me.
You gonna introduce the title too and all that stuff? You do your intro.
No, I'm not going to introduce the title. I'm just going to say hello.
You know what?
Girl, pray for him. See? I swear I'm going to have the mimosas next time. Because when he gets smart, just take a swig.
Yeah, you would.
That's what you do.
All right.
Hello, welcome to the very first Cra-Z-Dreams podcast. I am Jonathan. This is Candace and my colleague Anissa.
Hello.
We're happy to have you here today for our wonderful topic, which is I wish I had known that. We're talking about anything from the past that you wish you knew before you entered a situation, whether it was adulthood, marriage, your job, anything that you can think of that you wish you had known in advance that would have made things much better or easier for you in life. All right, so that's our topic. I'm passing to Anissa, who's going to introduce a very special guest for us today.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan, for that wonderful introduction. And on the phone today, we have Stephen Cannon. Woohoo! Woo-hoo. Stephen graduated from Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with a bachelor's in accounting. And then after 7 years of being a corporate accountant and financial analyst, he decided to transition into the information technology or IT field as a business system analyst. He has been a manager of financial systems, business intelligence reporting, and a consultant. He's also a member and an officer of Toastmasters Club, and he also coaches track.
Wonderful. Great to have you, Stephen.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for dialing in. All right, so I just want to get started with, I'm going to be a leader, and I'm going to start off with my own example of things that I wish I had known, and then you guys can feel free to chime in, but I'll be the first guinea pig. Mine's probably going to be a lot more boring because I know the two people sitting next to me have had very adventurous lives compared to me.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start. I'm not going to follow their stories. I'm not going to attempt to follow their stories whatsoever. But one very tame thing I wish I had known before I entered my relationships and my marriage was that it's not my partner's responsibility to make me happy. And I think that's a common expectation, even though people don't really say it out loud. I think that's a common expectation when you enter a relationship, especially a marriage, is that you're looking for the other person to do certain things that are going to make you happy. And my particular challenge was I am a giving person and I don't mind doing things for people. But after I've given to a certain degree, I'm looking for something back from that individual. And really, I should just be doing it out of love for that person and giving it with my heart and not really doing it out of expectation. So that was something that I had to learn and grow out of, and learn to kind of let go of the expectations and just love the person because I love them and not looking for something back. Because I would get frustrated. Like, I would do things for Candace, I'd make her some breakfast and bring it to her in bed, anything I could do to make her day, send her some flowers. And then after a while, I'd come home and maybe the house wasn't as clean as I wanted it to be. And now I might be getting a little snippy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hold on, Jonathan. Hold on now. We want y'all to still be married after this.
Well, we're being honest though, right?
Yeah. And transparent.
We're being transparent. So I'm admitting a flaw.
Yep.
I'm admitting a flaw because, I had that expectation. First of all, it's our responsibility to keep the house clean. It's not her responsibility to keep the house clean. Right. But my mother kept a clean house when I was growing up. And my dad, he contributed a little bit, but he didn't do a whole lot. And when he did, he was in a bad mood.
Yeah.
So I carried some of that with me from my own experience growing up. I carried some of that with me and projected that into my own relationship. So I've had to grow because that wasn't my wife's experience. And her expectation of the marriage was not that she was going to be that type of homemaker. I mean, she works too, just like I do. So it needs to be more of a partnership and collaboration. And I need to be a little bit more flexible with her, understanding that she's been at work all day as well. And even though my mom did work too, now she was not, a stay-at-home mom. She worked hard, full-time job, but somehow our house was always clean. And so subconsciously, when I got married and I came home from work, I thought the house was going to look like Mom used to make it look. And when it didn't, I started to get snippy. Yeah. So, I had to learn, and she had to recondition me. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
So
yes, that's a good word.
That you work as well.
Yeah. So that's my first example leading into it. Little on the tame side, maybe compared to my partners over here, but that's what I'm leading off with. What do you all think?
I wanted to kind of go back to something that you said, just so that I can get some clarity. When you said that it's not your partner's job to make you happy, or you're looking to them. Is that more so that you were looking for fulfillment through your partnership versus being fulfilled individually?
I would say my idea of the fulfillment that I was going to get from the marriage came from my experience growing up. Okay. So my idea about how a female would play a role in my life and in my fulfillment came from my mom. Right. Yeah. So that was what I carried into the marriage, was thinking that when I have a significant female in my life,
that she was basically going to take over the role of your mother.
To a degree, not exactly, but
she was going to cook. She was going to clean.
Yep. Check.
So she was going to do all those. She was going to be nurturing like your mom.
Check.
Yeah. But then she was going to lay it down. That's not like your mom. So she got to do all of that and then some. That's what you were looking for?
Well, it would be nice.
Okay. I was just clarifying.
It would be
what
nice.
The expectation was.
It would be nice.
Oh, okay.
But that's not the real world.
Yeah.
And you have to take the person for who they are and learn your partner, and you build your vision of what marriage should be together, not based on your experiences growing up. Okay.
True.
That's true. I think a lot of people deal with that. Individuals that aren't taught and coached through that or have good guidance from the adults in their lives, they do tend to carry those unspoken expectations into not only their marriage, but other relationships, as far as, this is what I think a friend should do, or, you know what I mean? Or a family member should do, fill in those gaps. I think we all kind of carry that subconsciously. And it takes a good effort on the adults' part who are cultivating the minds of young children to make sure that we teach them those lessons. Not every friend is going to, act the way that you want them to, or every friend's going to fill every gap, or, you might be there for them, but it might not be that important to them. They might want to live a different life. They want to have more than just one friend,
Right.
So as adults, we have to steward that over our children, especially with us growing in, with those expectations.
Right.
It's our job to make sure that not only do we learn the lesson for ourselves, but we also teach the lesson so that our children are that much more advanced or has a better leg up for learning those lessons younger.
Right. And you also had stated that because you did something, you had expected
Yes.
something in return, basically.
I'm being honest. That was the truth.
And I used to be that way, not specifically in a relationship with just like friends and families. So if I do something for you, I do it from my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you can't even call to say thank you, then I would get a little, a little miff.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had to realize you have to just accept people for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people who are going to say thank you, those who are not in that example. And so now I just kind of let it ride.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make a decision. If I'm going to do it, then I know that person may or may not say thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But before it used to bother me like crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see that.
Just being honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
And and to your point, like when you have something that's bothering you, you should express it in a productive way too. And if we allow something to continue to make us frustrated, then by the time it comes out, it might not come out right.
Right.
It might not come out well, because we've been bottling it up and we've been holding it. And
Right.
so when it comes out, it comes out at some random time that has nothing to do with
Situation.
what you're really upset about.
Yeah.
You just blurt it out.
Yeah. My husband had to tell me that just accept people who they are and do it because you want to do it and leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But you, Stephen?
Yeah.
Agreed. I think all of you hit on some very good points, but I'm going to take us on a little bit of a tangent just so that Jonathan can breathe a little bit. picking up on things that he said, and y'all holding him to task to it. He's trying to be honest, and y'all beating the man up. Let me try to save my brother real quick. One of the things that I would say that I would have loved to have learned earlier in life was that you can't expect others to be as excited about your success as you are.
Oh, that's a
That's
good one.
a good
So,
one.
Yeah.
For instance, I had friends growing up in Philly. A block full of friends, and you actually had some people who were truly excited when you did well, or when just something good happened to you, and then you had others who would just kind of look at you with the side eye.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on who you were and how I felt our relationship was, or at least from my perception of our relationship, that would kind of bring me down off of that natural high of having succeeded or having come into some good luck. So It would kind of kill what was going on for me from a, just from an emotional standpoint. I'm like, wow, why can't you be happy for me? And then,
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Stephen, because in watching podcasts and things that I watch about how to be more successful and things like that, I've heard different schools of thought on that. But what I hear a lot is you have to guard your inner circle, right? Is that you have to keep people around you that are going to be uplifting and empowering in your life. And if anybody is discouraging you, you might need to reevaluate that relationship and perhaps distance yourself, or maybe even sometimes cut people off. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think that it's a situation where you should just change your expectation and then continue to be in a relationship with the person, but change your expectation? Or do you have to change how you are in relationship with the person?
But that's a great question. For me, I keep an inner circle that's positive. Because I believe that positivity breeds positivity. And as long as you can always find a reason to cheer on the other person, there's really no need to have weights dragging you down. Now, to the extent that people get cut off, that probably happens after several instances, but I do also adjust my expectations. Because the first time it happens, it could just be something that someone's going through.
Right.
But if it happens on a regular basis, then you have to look at them and say, okay, well, cool, I understand that maybe I can't share certain things with you because for whatever reason you don't seem to be able to share in that happiness.
Right.
There's just some people who are truly not, I don't know, happy people, or they don't know how to be happy.
True. Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that too, that some people don't even know how to be supportive. They've probably had such a negative aspect on life, either their breeding grounds, how they were bred, and the environments that they were in themselves, that they don't know how to genuinely be happy with someone and fellowship in someone else's prosperity.
Right. We always encounter some.
I think I might have brought this up at one of the Toastmasters meetings, but if you look through the English language, there is not a word that expresses a totally selfless interest or happiness for someone else's success. Like, you have envy, and that's when someone, they can't be happy for someone else's success. You have a word for that, but there is no word in the English language that expresses a selfless happiness for someone else's success.
Oh, wow.
I was able to find
that's interesting.
word.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I thought it was, but I was able to find a word in, I want to say in Hindi, in Hindu.
Okay.
Utida, Utida, and that is a truly selfless interest in someone else's happiness. And the only example that I can think of is when you're a parent and you see your child growing or succeeding. It's truly selfless that you're like, okay,
absolutely,
that's my and learning. That's the only thing I can think of, but there is no one word that expresses that.
Yeah.
And what was the word? Can you spell it again? Because the volume was a little low.
Yes, it's Mutida, Mutida.
Mutida, and what word was that? Hindu?
Yes,
Hindu.
I want to say it's Hindu. I'll look it up right now, just so I'm not lying to you on a podcast.
we don't want to pass on false information. Have somebody quote that, but that's interesting that we don't have a word for that in the English language.
It's interesting.
I think that says a little bit, culturally,
about us.
We don't have a way to express that because, and the example about our kids is a great example.
That is a good one.
Right.
And you know what?
Some with friends as well. Like when you see a friend who's been going through a trial or a tribulation, and then you finally see them cross that precipice, and you're like, yes, you've been on that journey with them.
Okay.
Cheering them on, getting the phone calls when they're discouraged, helping them, keep going towards the finish line. And then when they finally do it, I don't know if it would be selfless, because part of you feels like you were on that journey with them.
Right.
So you're happy that, they have arrived, where at the goal. But he's right. I was sitting here ever since he mentioned that, I've been thinking of something, and I can't, not one word. I never knew that.
So I had the spelling backwards. It is actually mudita. It's Mudita.
Okay. Mudita. Okay.
Mudita. Okay.
But it is Hindu?
And it's from Sanskrit. It's a Sanskrit and Pali, but there is, of course, they apply it in Buddhism and things of that nature. So that's probably where I got the whole Hindu.
Got it.
thing from.
Okay.
Gotcha.
The closest thing we have in English is what they call sympathetic joy. And I'm like, that doesn't really...
Yeah, sympathy's different.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how I see that. So anyway, that's my piece of what I wish I had known earlier in life.
And that's a valuable lesson. And like Jonathan said, we watch a lot of podcasts, and I think TD Jakes does a really good job of speaking on everybody can't come with you on the journey
Yes,
that
he
you're
does.
getting ready to go
Yeah,
on.
he does.
And he tries to prepare people in that way because I'm sure, he talks about his own experiences with that. But like you said, especially when your dream is in its infancy, he always talks about being very protective of your dream. And not everybody gets to share in that dream.
Right.
Because he knows that there's going to be people out there that are not going to be encouraging. And he doesn't want your dream to die in its infancy before it has a chance to manifest. So he talks about, protecting that dream and Stefan said, making sure you have the inner circle that you have is the right circle to share those types of visions with, and that they'll be cheering you on in the process.
Right.
So that is a valuable lesson. And I think that's one that I have struggled with the most, is that all my 5 best girlfriends, or actually it's 4 because there were 5 of us. I've known them since all my life, and they're still the ones that I call today, even though, life changes and things kind of go in and out. And I've been very blessed because we're all positive. We're all trying to, run this race together as best we know how. But at times, we're not on the same journey at the same time. And it has been defeating to me when I'm calling someone and I'm looking either for encouragement, or I'm looking for someone to co-sign, or for someone to be just as happy, but they're not in that space. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe they're going through something that they can't be joyful about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that one has been a very difficult one for me. That's a hard lesson.
Yeah. And I can see that, but that's a lot of people's challenge, because you can even look at celebrities, especially, athletes come to mind, feeling a sense of loyalty to people that they grew up with, or people they've been with, for many years. And then maybe allowing those relationships to pull them down when they're not positive.
Right.
And feeling a sense of loyalty and obligation to keep that relationship going no matter what it takes, So and it's a tough one. It's a tough one to navigate when the emotions come into play, and somebody's been with you for a good portion of your life. It can be tough to, especially cut them off, but even to redefine the relationship can be tough.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Or to have those hard conversations to say, hey, I know sometimes you might be going through things,
but I need you
as much as you need me. But I need you to also try to be encouraging and positive as I'm with you. And I think once you have those type of hard conversations, they know exactly how you feel. And then if that behavior continues where there's never any type of positive affirmations when you're trying to accomplish something, or whatever the case may be, then you have a decision to make. I've informed you. This is how I feel. Now I may have to let this relationship
run its
go.
Course.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you have to do, at the end, you have to do what's best for you.
Right.
And that positive energy, you need that. You don't need that. It's too much negativity going on in the world to be drowning with it, with people that are supposed to be close to you and they're supposed to help uplift you.
Right.
So to me, my inner circle, I keep very protective. I only keep a few friends in it.
Right.
And those are friends that I know that sincerely have my back and I have their back. And we can tell each other, sometimes I have a friend that tells me, hey, Anissa, she just tells me straight up, think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
Even you do that to me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt my feeling because I know deep down you sincerely care about me as a
And want
person.
the best.
So your constructive criticism and the positivity that you're trying to bestow on me and trying to help me through my journey, I sit back and I look at it and I go, okay, they're really just trying to help me. I know this person cares about me, so I can move forward. It's nothing to keep me down. They're really trying to help me, as opposed to bring me down.
Right.
Right. So I think you just have to look at it, who it's coming from, and then you got to make decision. I think you should always, especially if you, like you were giving the example of the athletes that can't let those long relationships go, although they may not be good for them.
They're detrimental.
Right. They need to have those hard conversations to say, hey, the only thing that's changed about my life really is that maybe my career, it's on a higher level, or, I'm in this more in the spotlight because I'm an athlete or whatever the career may be. But I still have a sense of loyalty to you, and I want you to do well, but I need that in return.
Okay.
And if that's not something that you can provide, you can't be encouraging, and you just want to drag me down, then we're going to have to cut our ways.
Right.
I think sometimes you just have to have that hard conversation.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Sometimes we're afraid to sit down and have those conversations with people who we've been in a relationship with for a long time. And that can lead to the relationship deteriorating further if you just never talk about anything and it just continues to build up.
Right.
You know, and then you don't want to just like start not calling the person back and just fall off the face of the earth. You at least want to have a conversation with that person because you value the relationship.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Miss Anissa, it's your turn.
It's my turn.
What is your thing that you wish you had known before marriage, before career, whatever it is?
Well, I'm going to say death. And what I mean by that is because it has impacted me from an early age. And I just wish someone would have sat down with me and kind of walked me through it and asked me about my feelings, because not your feelings are all bottled up and you don't understand what you're feeling, especially when you're a child. And why I say that is because I was really close to my great-grandfather. And then he died at 12. We're sitting at home waiting for them to get back from a trip, and then he's not returning. And then 2 years later, my dad's dead. And it's like, what's going on? It's like, you know, you have all these feelings bottled up, and, you know, grown-ups, they just go on about their way, but they never talk to you about it so that you can deal with your feelings. And so what I try to do now is to make sure that when I'm talking with my daughter, like when she lost her grandmother, and they were very close, was to try to walk her through her feelings and see if she needed to discuss that with anyone, because it just truly impacts you, and you keep all those, well, I did. I kept all those feelings bottled up inside. You know, it may seem silly to an adult, but it's like my grandmother said, I kept begging him to hold on for you. And so as a kid, you're just like, why couldn't you hold on? Why couldn't you hold on for me? You know, you kept harping on that. She didn't mean anything.
She didn't mean anything by it, but
it was in her emotions, and she was trying to get him to survive. And she knew how close we were, and she kept, so in my mind, I'm like, why couldn't you hold on? Yeah. Just, you know, for me, you know? And then I think as a kid, because my dad wasn't around, and I've always prayed for him to be around. I mean, I knew who he was, but he just wasn't in my life. And then at age 14, when he dies, you know, I'm always had these conversations with God, and then I find myself at the funeral, and I'm thinking, I think I said it kind of out loud too. My mom looked at me, I'm like, well, I guess I prayed for, I could see him, and you put him in a box so I could see him, you know, but no one ever helped me to deal with those feelings. And then I was an introvert, so I wasn't about to volunteer about how I was feeling as well too. So I wish someone would have talked to me more about that. I think that would have kind of helped me even with relationships. Oh, absolutely. Moving, you know, forward in adult life, just because I had those feelings bottled up inside.
So outside of just death, it could be the end of something. Right. But when something has reached full circle and come to completion, how do you move on? Whether it's death, whether it's the end of a relationship, it's really working through the emotions, of something no longer being a part of your life.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's huge.
And not that I don't want to bring a damper, but it's just something that
when my grandfather passed away, that was like my hero.
Me too.
And before he had prostate cancer, and when I saw him, because I would drive down there every so often just to go see him, and he was in the bed, and it finally hit me that, hey,
yes,
this man that I thought was a superhero is human. It really messed me up for a minute, and then he died maybe a month and a half after that. But I really wasn't ready for it. And I was in my 20s. I wasn't 12 or 14. I'm in my 20s, and I'm just like, whoa. Well, wait a minute. I couldn't have been in my 20s because he didn't until after my kids were born. So yeah, I was in my 30s, but still, I wasn't good with it.
Right.
Oh, and because again, this is a man that I looked up to more than my father. Okay, more so than my father. My grandfather was that guy in my life. So it really messed my head up to see him that way. And I didn't have. I think it's kind of taboo in our community to even be at a therapist. Really,
Oh,
it's just,
absolutely.
deal with it and keep moving. But
Absolutely.
I think we need to open that up as an option for us.
We need to change the narrative around it.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, I think therapy in the Black community is a topic for another day.
Yeah.
We can talk plenty about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, strong point. Yeah, and dealing with any kind of loss can really take you aback and cause you to reevaluate things. And it just you have to appreciate things as much as you can while you have them, and then also realize that it's hard to think of it in this way, but everything's temporary.
Right, but that as an adult. But when you're a kid, although you hear and about people die, but when it's someone that's really close to you, and then that happens, you're just like, oh my God, like what's going on here? And then for me, I guess it was like my great grandfather, who, like Stephen was saying, his was his hero, so was mine. And then my dad, and then another 2 years later, his dad. And then when I get into adulthood, then my brother. And then I'm thinking, is this like some type of curse? Because this is all on my father's side. Like, what's going on here? Yeah. So it's like you never really had a chance to kind of breathe. But I think that, I don't know how you can prepare someone for something that you don't know what's going to happen. Right. But I think that once it does happen, if someone can have a conversation with you as opposed to just saying, well, that person loved you. Well, ask me about how I'm feeling. And what's inside and what I'm thinking, because right now I'm really messed up. And as a young adult, now I'm older, I understand, we're not going to live forever. Like you said, things are temporary, and then now enjoy every moment. But if I was at 12, if I would have known that, if somebody said enjoy every moment, I guess I did enjoy every moment with them. It was just, unfortunately, I expected more moments.
Yes.
So. Yeah, and I mean, it's hard to get some adults to understand that. So definitely, when you're 12, it's going to be. I don't even know if you could come up with the right thing to say in that moment. I mean, there's no handbook for it, and it's just one of those things where, like, as you get older, you take your experience and you try to do better if you're ever in that situation. Right. And sometimes you maybe have to change the narrative and the story that you've created around what happened. Right. Because people do the best they can in those situations. Right. And we don't go to a school or a training to learn what to say to somebody when they lose somebody close to them.
But I think, like you said, which will be another podcast, it's just it's having those therapists to be in your life, those resources where someone can talk to you and you can kind of get it off your chest and,
Well, another thing is allowing those emotions. I know when I was growing up, we lived in the suck it up buttercup stage. Exactly. You know what I mean? That's what it was. Suck it up. It was if it didn't kill you, get up off the floor and keep it moving. Yes. So that's another way that I think that maybe wounds did not heal properly, or we didn't get the opportunity to fully go through emotions, the full range of the emotions and the stages of grief that kind of go along with that. It was just that, hey, suck it up. Let's keep it moving. That was yesterday, or whatever. And so having that mentality, and so like you said, well, I can't process this. I can't show this emotion, or someone's going to tell me to suck it up. So I better bottle it all in and, put a lid on it.
And then I felt at 12 too. I felt like, okay, I just got to be strong for my great grandmother because, that's the love of her life. And she missed him. So I would try to do everything because I loved doing what he used to do anyway. So I would always follow him around in overalls like I was a little boy anyway. And so I would try to fix little things that go wrong, or I would try to help her more as opposed to kind of like, asking questions. I think the only time I ever asked questions when she started to get rid of his stuff, and so I kind of took offense to that. Okay, but yeah.
You know what? I think, and I definitely don't want to end that before it's run its cycle. If you have more to say on that, but it it kind of segues into something that I wanted to say as far as I wish I had known, and I want to definitely get Stefan's thoughts on this. But when you were talking about tough it up. And what'd you say? Suck it up.
Suck it up and move it on.
She has all the country analogies. She comes up with more country phrases. I don't know where some of these phrases come from, but suck it up, buttercup. We'll go with it. So I'm going to speak on that in terms of being a male, right? So men in particular are told to suck it up quite a bit from boyhood into manhood. You know, not encouraged to show emotion or be vulnerable at all.
Right.
And told, you know, don't cry, suck it up, tough it out, push through.
Be a man.
Yes. And I wish I had known going into adulthood